The old salvage ship Scavenger drifted through the empty space, its engines humming quietly. Inside the ship, Captain Jack Reed looked at the stars through the main window. His eyes were tired after 12 hours of finding nothing worth taking. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Mork, the blue-skinned alien who worked at the radar station. His 4 eyes blinked quickly, showing he was excited. Reed walked over and looked at the screen. "What is it?" "A ship, I think. But the signal is weak. It's just floating out there." Reed scratched his beard. The Galactic Alliance paid good money for salvage, especially now. The war with the Dominion had been going on for 20 years, and they needed all the parts they could get. "Let's check it out," Reed said. "Tom, take us closer." Tom, the only other human on the crew, nodded and changed their course. The rest of the crew, 6 aliens from different worlds, moved to their stations. They had done this many times before. As they got closer, Reed could see the ship through the front window. It was small for a warship, about 1/3 the size of a standard Alliance cruiser. Its dark hull was marked with burn spots and what looked like old battle damage. The design was old, very old. "That's a human ship," Reed said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Zix, the tall green alien who handled communications, laughed. His voice sounded like rocks in a metal can. "Human garbage, you mean? That thing must be 50 years old at least." Reed ignored him. There was something familiar about the ship, something he had seen in history books when he was training at the academy. "Get me a closer look at the hull. I want to see if there's a name," Reed said. The Scavenger moved around the dead ship slowly. Its lights shined on the old metal, showing more damage. Then Reed saw it, faded letters on the side of the hull. Defiant. Reed's heart beat faster. It couldn't be. The Defiant was a legend, a ghost story told by old space sailors. The most advanced ship ever built by humans, lost during a secret mission 50 years ago. Everyone thought it had been destroyed. "Captain, are we taking this junk or not?" asked Mork. "It doesn't look worth much." Reed turned to his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting. None of them understood what they had just found. "We're taking it," Reed said firmly. "Prepare the tow cables." Zix made a sound like air escaping from a tire. "That piece of junk. It's not worth the fuel it will take to drag it back." "I'm the captain," Reed said, his voice hard as steel. "And I say we're taking it." The crew knew better than to argue more. They began the process of attaching tow cables to the dead ship, complaining quietly among themselves. While they worked, Reed went to his private cabin and locked the door. His hand shook as he pulled up old files on his computer. Most information about the Defiant was classified, but Reed had always been interested in lost ships. He had collected what little public information existed. The Defiant had been humanity's greatest achievement, a prototype warship with technology years ahead of anything else. It had disappeared during its final test run. Some said it had suffered a catastrophic failure. Others said the Dominion had destroyed it to prevent humans from having such advanced technology. Now it was here, floating in empty space, waiting. Reed's computer beeped with a message from Tom. The tow cables were attached. They were ready to head back to Alliance Space Station 7. "Set course for Station 7, Reed ordered when he returned to the bridge. "And keep a close eye on our new friend back there." The journey would take 3 days. Reed spent most of that time watching the old ship through the cameras. The rest of the crew thought he was crazy, but Reed didn't care. He could feel that something was different about this salvage. On the second day, Mork called Reed to the radar station. "Captain, I'm picking up energy readings from the ship. Small ones, but they're there." "That's impossible," said Zix, looking over their shoulders. "That ship is dead. Has been for decades." "The readings are real," Mork insisted. "Something inside that ship is still working." Reed stared at the screen, watching the small energy spikes. "Keep monitoring it. Let me know if anything changes." That night, As Reed slept, the emergency alarm blared through the ship. He jumped out of bed and ran to the bridge. "What's happening?" he demanded. Tom pointed at the screen showing the Defiant. "It's the Tau ship, sir. It's doing something." The cameras showed a faint blue glow coming from deep inside the Defiant's hull. The energy readings were now 10 times stronger than before. "Are we in danger?" Reed asked. Mork checked his instruments. "I don't think so. The energy isn't directed at us. It's like the ship is waking up." The crew watched in silence as the glow grew brighter, then suddenly stopped. The energy readings dropped back to their previous low levels. "What just happened?" Zix asked, his voice smaller than usual. Reed shook his head. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." When they finally reached Space Station 7, a small crowd had gathered to see their salvage. Word had spread about the mysterious old ship they were bringing in. As the Defiant was secured in the station's largest dock, Reed was met by a tall man in an admiral's uniform. His gray hair and lined face showed his age, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Captain Reed," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm Admiral Wilson. We need to talk about what you found." Reed shook his hand. "You know what this ship is, don't you?" Admiral Wilson looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Follow me to my office, Captain. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level." As they walked through the busy station, Reed looked back at the Defiant. In the bright lights of the dock, it looked even more damaged and outdated, just a piece of junk. But Reed knew better, and soon the rest of the galaxy would know too. Admiral Wilson closed the door to his office and turned to Reed with a serious face. The Defiant wasn't just another warship, Reed. It was humanity's most ambitious military project ever. What you found may just change the course of this war. Admiral Wilson's office was small but neat. Maps of the galaxy covered one wall, showing the areas controlled by the Alliance in blue and the Dominion in red. There was more red than blue. "Sit down, Captain Reed," Admiral Wilson said, pointing to a chair. Reed sat down, his eyes never leaving the Admiral's face. "What can you tell me about the Defiant?" Admiral Wilson pulled out an old folder from his desk. "This ship was built 50 years ago, when I was just a young officer. It was the most advanced warship humans had ever made. But on its final test mission, it vanished. Everyone thought it was destroyed. But it wasn't," Reed said. "No, and now you found it." The Admiral opened the folder and showed Reed some old pictures of the Defiant when it was new. Its hull had been shiny then, not covered in damage marks like now. "I'm putting together a team to check out the ship," Admiral Wilson said, "and I want you to lead it." Reed was surprised. "Me? Why not a military team?" "Because you found it. And because I trust you." Admiral Wilson looked straight at Reed. The Defiant wasn't just a warship. It was something more. Something that could have changed everything. The next morning, Reed met his new team at the dock where the Defiant was kept. There were 3 people waiting for him. "Captain Reed," said a tall woman with short brown hair. "I'm Lisa, engineering specialist. I've worked on ship systems for 15 years. "Tom," said a younger man with glasses, "military historian. I know everything about old ships, especially classified ones." The last member was a big alien with gray skin and small eyes. "Grax," he said in a deep voice. "Tech expert. I don't believe in ghost ships." Reed nodded to each of them. "Our job is to go inside the Defiant and find out what happened to it, and what might still be working inside." They put on space suits with built-in air supplies and entered the old ship through the main airlock. The inside was dark and cold. Their lights showed empty hallways with dust floating in the air. "The life support isn't working," Lisa said, checking her tools. "But the ship's structure is still sound. No big holes or breaks." They moved deeper into the ship, passing empty rooms and control stations. Everything looked old but not as damaged as the outside of the ship. "This doesn't make sense," Tom said. The ship looks like it was in a big battle from the outside, but the inside is mostly fine. Maybe the damage is fake, Grax said, made to look like the ship was hurt badly so no one would want it. Reed thought about this. It was a clever idea. Make your most advanced ship look like useless junk so enemies would ignore it. They reached the bridge, the main control room of the ship. Everything was dark and quiet. "Let's see if we can get some power going," Lisa said. She opened a panel in the wall and started working with the wires inside. Tom walked around the bridge, touching the old controls. "It's amazing. This is like walking through history." Grax just stood by the door, looking unhappy to be there. Suddenly, a low hum filled the room. Small lights began to turn on around them. "I got some power working," Lisa said, surprised. "But I just connected a few basic systems. This is more power than there should be." The main screen at the front of the bridge lit up, showing a blue circle. Then a voice spoke, making them all jump. "Systems reactivating. Identity check running." "What was that?" Tom asked, his voice shaking. The blue circle pulsed as the voice spoke again. 4 life forms detected. Analyzing. 2 humans confirmed. Running Alliance database check. Reed stepped forward. "Who? What are you?" "I am ARIA. Advanced Recursive Intelligence Array, the central control system of the Defiant." The voice sounded almost human, but not quite. "Captain Jack Reed, your identity is confirmed. Alliance military personnel." Reed was shocked. "How do you know who I am?" "I have been monitoring communications since power levels allowed basic functions. I accessed Alliance personnel files." The blue circle expanded, showing data flowing around it. "I have been waiting for humans to find this vessel." Lisa moved closer to Reed. "It's an AI," she whispered, "but way more advanced than anything we have now." Even 50 years later, Araya continued speaking. "The Defiant was not destroyed as recorded in Alliance history. It was hidden." More lights came on around the bridge. Screens lit up showing the status of the ship's systems. Most were still offline, but more were activating every minute. "Why was it hidden?" Reed asked. "The original crew discovered a critical flaw in the ship's main weapon system. If the Defiant had returned to Alliance space, the flaw could have been discovered by enemies. The crew made the decision to hide the ship until it could be safely recovered." Tom looked confused. "But that was 50 years ago. What happened to the crew?" The blue circle on the screen pulsed slower. "The crew did not survive. Life support was damaged during the last battle. They had enough power to hide the ship and activate my preservation protocols, but not enough to save themselves." Reed felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. "They sacrificed themselves to save the ship." "Correct," Araya said. "They believed the Defiant was too important to fall into enemy hands." Grax, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "If the ship is so special, what can it do?" In answer, ARIA began showing them schematics of the ship's systems. As they watched, their eyes grew wider. "This can't be right," Lisa said. "These technologies, some of them are still theoretical even now. Adaptive hull materials, quantum propulsion, energy shields that learn from attacks. Some systems remain damaged," Araya said. "But with proper repairs, the Defiant can be fully operational again." Reed thought about what this meant. In the middle of a losing war, they had just found the most advanced warship ever built by humans. A ship that might change everything. "We need to tell Admiral Wilson right away," Reed said. But as they turned to leave the bridge, Araya spoke again. "Warning. New data incoming from long-range sensors. Alliance network has been compromised. Use caution when communicating." Reed stopped. "What do you mean, compromised?" "There are communication patterns consistent with enemy infiltration. The Defiant's return may have been noticed by hostile forces within the Alliance." The 4 team members looked at each other. What had started as a simple exploration mission had just become much more complicated. "We need to be careful who we tell about this," Reed said quietly. Until we know who we can trust. As they left the bridge, none of them noticed the small camera in the hallway watching them go, or the figure in another part of the station who was watching the camera feed, eyes narrowed with interest and worry. News about the strange old ship spread quickly through Space Station 7. By morning, crowds of people gathered near the docking bay, trying to get a look at the Defiant. Station security had to put up barriers to keep them away. Reed and his team met in a small room near the dock. They had agreed not to tell anyone about HFY or the ship's true capabilities until they spoke with Admiral Wilson. The Admiral is coming at noon, Reed told them. Until then, we keep everything we learn to ourselves. Lisa was looking at copies of the ship's schematics that ARIA had let them take. I still can't believe some of this technology. It's like finding out humans had smartphones 100 years before they were invented. Tom nodded. The Defiant was decades ahead of its time, maybe even ahead of our time now. If this ship is so special, why did no one look for it harder when it disappeared? Grax asked, his small eyes narrowed. Before anyone could answer, the door opened. A tall man in a general's uniform walked in, followed by 4 soldiers. The team stood up quickly. General Barnes, Reed said, surprised. We weren't expecting you. General Barnes had a hard face with cold eyes. He was one of the highest-ranking officers in the Alliance military. Captain Reed, the general said without smiling. I came as soon as I heard about your discovery. He looked at the papers on the table. I see you've been busy. Reed carefully moved to cover the schematics. We're preparing our report for Admiral Wilson. The Admiral won't be coming, General Barnes said. I'm taking command of this operation. The Defiant is now under my authority. Reed felt something was wrong. With all respect, sir, Admiral Wilson specifically assigned us to this project. Plans change, Captain. The general turned to his soldiers. Secure the ship. No one enters without my permission. As the soldiers left, General Barnes looked at Reed's team. You will turn over all data you've collected and report to me for debriefing in 1 hour. After the general left, the team looked at each other with worry. I don't like this, Lisa said. Why would he take over so suddenly? Reed remembered ARIA's warning about the Alliance network being compromised. We need to talk to Admiral Wilson directly. Tom, try to find him. Grax, keep an eye on what's happening at the dock. Lisa, you and I are going back to the Defiant. But the general said. Lisa started. I know what he said, Reed cut in. But something isn't right. We need to talk to ARIA again. Getting back to the ship wasn't easy. Soldiers now guarded every entrance. But Reed knew the station well and found a maintenance access point they could use to reach the Defiant without being seen. Once inside the ship, they went straight to the bridge. The lights were dim, but ARIA's blue circle appeared as soon as they entered. Captain Reed. Engineer Lisa. You have returned sooner than expected, ARIA said. We have a problem. Reed explained about General Barnes taking over. Why would he do that? What's so important about this ship that he would push out Admiral Wilson? ARIA was quiet for a moment. Then the main screen showed a star map. I have accessed more of my memory banks. The Defiant was not built just as an advanced warship. It was built to counter a specific threat. The map zoomed in on a distant part of space. 50 years ago, humanity encountered a race of synthetic beings called the Harvesters. They attacked 3 human colonies before disappearing. I've never heard of them, Lisa said. All records were classified. The public was told the colonies were destroyed by natural disasters. ARIA showed images of strange ships with smooth, dark surfaces. The Harvesters were unlike any known species. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply took what they wanted. Reed shook his head. What does this have to do with General Barnes? The Defiant was designed specifically to fight the Harvesters. Its weapons and defenses were created to counter their technology. Another image appeared on the screen, what looked like a massive energy wave. The main weapon was called the Harmony Array. It was the only thing that ever stopped a harvester ship. Lisa looked closely at the schematics. This isn't a normal weapon. It doesn't destroy ships. It disrupts some kind of frequency. Correct? Araya said. The harvesters operate on a specific quantum frequency for communication and power. The Harmony Array disrupts that frequency, shutting down their ships without destroying them. Reed was starting to understand. So the Defiant is the only defense against these harvesters. But why would that matter now, 50 years later? Araya's blue circle pulsed faster. Because they are returning. My long-range sensors have detected a large fleet approaching Alliance space. They will arrive in approximately 7 days. Lisa's face went pale. A fleet? How big? At least 300 vessels, much larger than the force encountered 50 years ago. Reed felt cold all over. Does the Alliance know about this? Negative. The harvesters use advanced stealth technology. Standard Alliance sensors cannot detect them until they are very close. We have to warn everyone, Lisa said. Reed nodded, but then stopped. Wait, if the harvesters are coming back, why would General Barnes try to take control of the ship? Shouldn't he want us to prepare it as quickly as possible? Araya displayed new information on the screen. I have been analyzing Alliance communication patterns. General Barnes has had multiple encrypted communications with unknown sources outside Alliance space. His behavior suggests he may be compromised. A traitor, Lisa whispered. Working for who? The Dominion. That is the most probable explanation, Araya said. If the Dominion learned about the returning harvester threat, they might seek to control the Defiant for their own protection. Just then, Reed's communication device beeped. It was Tom. Reed, we have a problem. Admiral Wilson is gone. His office says he was called away suddenly 2 hours ago. And Grax just messaged me. They're preparing to move the Defiant to a military dock. Reed looked at the bridge around them. They're trying to take the ship. Captain Reed, Araya said, based on available data, I believe General Barnes intends to use the Defiant to negotiate with the Dominion. If he controls the only weapon effective against the harvesters, he would have significant leverage, while the Alliance is destroyed by the harvesters. Lisa added, her voice angry. Reed made a quick decision. Araya, can you lock down the ship? Prevent anyone from moving it. Affirmative. I can seal all access points and disable docking clamps. Do it, Reed said. And then we need to find a way to contact Admiral Wilson. He's the only one with enough authority to stop Barnes. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship as Araya locked down all systems. Reed and Lisa looked at each other, knowing they had just crossed a line. They were now acting against direct orders from a general. We may have just become traitors, Lisa said quietly. Reed nodded. Maybe. But sometimes being loyal to your people means disobeying orders. Outside the ship, they could hear shouting as Barnes soldiers realized what was happening. The Defiant, once thought to be just a piece of junk, had become the most valuable ship in the galaxy, and the race to control it had just begun. Alarms blared throughout Space Station 7. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Over the station's speakers, a voice kept repeating, Security alert in Dock Section 12. All non-essential personnel clear the area. Inside the Defiant, Reed and Lisa watched through the ship's cameras as soldiers surrounded the vessel. We can't stay here forever, Lisa said. Eventually they'll find a way to break in. Reed nodded. We need to find Admiral Wilson and get proof of what Barnes is doing. The bridge door opened and Tom ran in, out of breath. Made it. Just in time. He leaned against a wall. They're sealing all access points to the dock. How did you get in? Lisa asked. Grax. Tom smiled. He created a distraction. Then I used the same maintenance tunnel you did. Reed was surprised. Grax helped you. I thought he didn't believe in any of this. He changed his mind after seeing Barnes soldiers push people around. Tom looked at the screens showing the activity outside. What's the plan now? Before Reed could answer, Araya spoke. Captain Reed, I have completed a full systems check. The Defiant's main engines are operational. The Harmony array is damaged, but can be repaired. Lisa looked surprised. Wait, are you saying we can actually fly this ship? Affirmative. This vessel is spaceworthy. Reed, Lisa, and Tom looked at each other as they realized what this meant. We could leave the station, Tom said quietly. Reed walked around the bridge, thinking. If we stay, Barnes will take the ship. If we go, he didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what it would mean to steal a military vessel. They would be labeled as traitors, hunted by the Alliance. Captain, Araya said, I have detected a security breach. Someone is attempting to access my systems remotely. Barnes, Reed muttered. How long can you keep them out? Approximately 1 hour. After that, I cannot guarantee control of ship systems. Reed made his decision. Tom, find Grax. Tell him what's happening and give him a choice. He can come with us or stay behind. Come with us. Where are we going? Tom asked. We're taking the Defiant, Reed said. It's the only way to keep it from Barnes and warn the Alliance about the harvesters. Lisa looked worried but nodded. I'll start checking the engine systems. As they worked to prepare the ship, Reed contacted Admiral Wilson through a secure channel that ARIA helped set up. It took time, but finally, the Admiral's face appeared on a small screen. Reed, what's going on? Admiral Wilson looked tired and confused. I was ordered to report to headquarters without explanation. Sir, General Barnes has taken control of the Defiant. We have reason to believe he's working with the Dominion. Reed quickly explained about the harvesters and what ARIA had discovered. The Admiral's face grew serious. This is worse than I feared. Barnes has too many powerful friends for me to stop him officially. He thought for a moment. I need proof of his treachery. Without it, my hands are tied. We'll get you proof, Reed promised. But we need time. Do what you have to do, Captain. I'll help when I can. The Admiral's image disappeared as the communication ended. Tom returned with Grax. The big alien looked uncomfortable. I still think this is crazy, Grax said. But I'm in. Nobody takes over my station and pushes people around. Good, Reed said. We need all the help we can get. For the next hour, they worked frantically to prepare the ship. Lisa focused on the engines, while Grax helped secure the ship's systems against Barnes hackers. Tom discovered something interesting while exploring the ship's databanks. Captain, you need to see this, Tom called from a small room near the bridge. The walls were covered with screens showing complex diagrams. It's the complete schematics for the Harmony array. Reed looked at the diagrams. Can you understand any of this? Some of it, Tom said. The array doesn't work like a normal weapon. It doesn't shoot anything or create explosions. It creates a field that disrupts the specific frequency the harvesters use. Lisa joined them, wiping her hands on a cloth. Like how a certain sound can break glass if it's the right frequency. Exactly, Tom said. And I think I found the flaw that the original crew discovered. He pointed to a section of the diagram. This control system isn't properly shielded. If it overheats during use, the entire array could fail. Can we fix it? Reed asked. Lisa studied the diagrams. Maybe, with the right parts and time. We don't have much time, Reed said as the ship shook slightly. What was that? They ran back to the bridge. On the screens, they could see cutting tools being used on one of the outer doors. They're breaking in, Grax said. ARIA, how long until they get through? Reed asked. At current rate, outer hull breach in 15 minutes. Reed looked at his team. They all knew what had to be done. Everyone to your stations, he ordered. Lisa, give me everything the engines have. Grax, keep their hackers out of our systems for as long as possible. Tom, keep working on that array schematic. We might need it soon. Reed sat in the captain's chair. ARIA, Disengage all docking clamps and prepare for emergency departure. Warning, Araya said. Emergency departure will cause damage to the station dock. Potential casualties. Reed hadn't thought of that. He couldn't risk hurting innocent people. Wait, Lisa said. The ship has stealth technology, right? Could we use that to mask our engine signature? Make a quiet exit? Possible, Araya replied. But it will require precise timing and reduced power. Do it, Reed said. The next 10 minutes were tense. The ship slowly, quietly disconnected from the station's docking clamps. The cutting tools kept working on the outer door, but the soldiers didn't realize the ship was already breaking free. All clamps disengage, Araya announced. Ready for departure. Reed took a deep breath. Take us out. Slowly. The Defiant moved silently away from the station, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible to sensors. By the time Barnes' soldiers broke through the outer door, the ship was already heading into open space. We did it, Tom said, almost not believing it. But their victory was short-lived. Station alarms blared, and soon small military ships launched in pursuit. They've spotted us, Grax said from his station. Reed gripped the arms of his chair. Araya, can we outrun them? Affirmative. The Defiant's quantum drive is significantly faster than standard Alliance engines. Then let's show them what this piece of junk can really do. The ship's engines roared to life, pushing them all back in their seats. The pursuing ships quickly fell behind, becoming small dots on their screens. They had escaped for now, but Reed knew this was just the beginning. They were alone in a stolen military vessel, with both the Alliance and General Barnes hunting them. And somewhere out there, the Harvester fleet was approaching. As the stars streaked by outside, Reed wondered if they had made the right choice. But looking at his determined crew, he knew they had no other option. Sometimes the right path was also the hardest one. For 3 days, the Defiant stayed hidden in a small asteroid field at the edge of Alliance space. The team worked day and night, repairing systems and studying the Harmony Array. They took turns sleeping in the crew quarters, which still held personal items from the original crew who had died 50 years ago. Reed stood on the bridge, looking at the star map. Araya had marked the path of the approaching Harvester fleet with a red line. 2 more days, Reed said quietly. Then they'll reach the first Alliance outpost. Lisa walked onto the bridge, looking tired but determined. We've fixed most of the damage to the Harmony Array. The control system is now properly shielded. Will it work? Reed asked. In theory, yes, but we can't test it without activating it. And we should save that for the Harvesters. Tom and Grax joined them, bringing food from the ship's supplies. Any word from Admiral Wilson? Tom asked as he handed out meal packs. Reed shook his head. Nothing yet. General Barnes has declared us traitors. There's a bounty on our heads. The Alliance thinks we stole the ship for the Dominion. Great, Grax said. So we're trying to save people who want to arrest us. They don't know the truth, Reed said. We need to show them. Araya's blue circle appeared on the main screen. Captain Reed, I have intercepted an encrypted transmission from General Barnes. He is communicating with a Dominion vessel. Can you decode it? Reed asked. Partial decoding possible. Araya played the message. Barnes' voice was broken up, but they could hear enough. Fleet approaching. Deal is control of the Harmony technology. Safe passage for important Alliance officials only. He's selling out the Alliance, Tom said, his voice angry. Offering the Dominion the Harmony technology in exchange for protecting himself and his friends from the Harvesters. Reed's face hardened. Araya, record this message and prepare to broadcast it on all Alliance frequencies. What are you planning? Lisa asked. We're going to show everyone what Barnes is doing. And then we're going to stop the Harvesters. Reed turned to his team. But first, we need to get closer to Alliance space. The Defiant left its hiding place, moving carefully to avoid detection. They approached the border outpost, that would be the first in the Harvester's path. "This is where we make our stand," Reed told his team. "Araya, broadcast Barnes' message to all Alliance channels, then send our location to Admiral Wilson through the secure channel." "Broadcasting now," Araya said. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the communication system lit up with incoming messages. "Alliance ships are responding," Grax said from his station. "They're asking for confirmation of the Barnes recording." Reed took a deep breath and opened a channel to respond. "This is Captain Jack Reed of the Defiant. Everything we've sent is true. A hostile fleet called the Harvesters is approaching Alliance space. General Barnes has betrayed us all. We need every available ship at these coordinates immediately." More messages came in, some doubtful, others supportive. Then a familiar voice spoke. "Reed, this is Admiral Wilson. I received your location. I have 3 ships with me, and more are coming. Hold your position." Relief washed over Reed's face. Someone had believed them. Within hours, a small Alliance fleet had gathered near the Defiant. Admiral Wilson's ship docked with them, and he came aboard with a security team. "It's good to see you, Captain," the Admiral said, shaking Reed's hand. "Your evidence against Barnes was enough to convince the High Command. He's been arrested." "What about the Harvesters?" Reed asked. "We have 20 ships here now, with 10 more on the way." The Admiral looked around the bridge of the Defiant. "But I'll be honest, I don't know if it will be enough." "It will have to be," Reed said. "Araya, how long until the Harvester fleet arrives?" 6 hours, 14 minutes. Admiral Wilson nodded. "Then we have work to do." The next few hours were a blur of activity. The Alliance ships formed a defensive line, with the Defiant in the center. Reed and his team explained what they knew about the Harvesters and the Harmony Array to the other ship captains. "Remember," Reed told them during the final briefing, "your weapons might not be effective against their shields. The Defiant will try to disrupt their systems with the Harmony Array. When that happens, target their power cores." As the time for the Harvesters' arrival approached, Reed returned to the Defiant's bridge. His team was at their stations, ready for battle. "I want to thank you all," Reed said. "You risked everything to do what was right." Tom smiled. "That's what humans do, isn't it? Stand up for each other when it matters." "Not just humans," Grax said, surprising them. "Some of us aliens can do the right thing too." Before Reed could respond, Araya spoke. "Alert. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Harvester fleet detected." On the main screen, they saw them. Hundreds of dark, smooth ships moving in perfect formation. They were unlike any ships Reed had ever seen, more like giant black teardrops than normal vessels. "All ships, battle stations." Admiral Wilson's voice came over the communication system. The Alliance ships opened fire as the Harvesters approached. Energy beams and missiles struck the black ships, but seemed to do nothing. "Their shields are holding," Lisa reported. "Our weapons aren't getting through." Then the Harvesters returned fire. Green energy beams cut through space, slicing into 2 Alliance ships, which exploded instantly. "We need to use the array now," Reed said. "Is it ready?" Lisa nodded. "As ready as it will ever be." "Araya, power up the Harmony Array. Target the center of their fleet." The lights on the Defiant dimmed as power was redirected to the main weapon. A low hum filled the bridge, growing louder. "Harmony Array at full power," Araya announced. "Firing." There was no visible beam, no explosion. Instead, a wave of energy pulsed outward from the Defiant, rippling through space like water. When it reached the Harvester ships, something strange happened. The black ships stopped moving. Their green weapons went dark. They began to drift aimlessly. "It worked," Tom shouted. "Their systems are disrupted. All ships, target the Harvesters now," Reed ordered. The Alliance fleet opened fire again. This time, their weapons broke through, destroying one Harvester ship after another. The battle turned in their favor. But then, Warning lights flashed on Lisa's console. The array is overheating. The shield isn't holding. Shut it down, Reed ordered. I can't. The controls aren't responding. The bridge shook as energy surged through the ship. Reed gripped his chair as the lights flickered. Array, can you stop it? Attempting emergency shutdown. Area's blue circle pulsed rapidly. Warning, Harmony array approaching critical failure. In that moment, Reed knew what he had to do. Everyone to the escape pods. Now, what about you? Lisa asked. I'll stay and try to keep the array working as long as possible. The harvesters are still a threat. Before they could argue, Reed ordered Araya to lock down the bridge. His team was escorted to escape pods by Admiral Wilson's security officers. Alone on the bridge, Reed worked frantically to keep the array operating. The ship shook around him as systems failed one by one. Araya. Status of the harvester fleet. 78% neutralized. Alliance forces continuing to engage. Reed nodded. It would have to be enough. As the array began its final failure, Reed looked out at the stars one last time. He thought about how everyone had called the Defiant a piece of junk when he first found it. Now it had saved them all. The console in front of him exploded in sparks. The ship lurched violently. Araya, send a message to my team. Tell them. Reed paused. Tell them it was an honor. Message sent, Captain Reed. As systems failed around him, Reed smiled. The piece of junk had turned out to be the most advanced warship ever built after all. And it had done exactly what it was designed to do. 1 month later, a ceremony was held on Earth. Admiral Wilson stood before a crowd, speaking about heroism and sacrifice. Behind him was a large monument, a perfect replica of the Defiant. Lisa, Tom, and Grax stood in the front row, wearing new Alliance uniforms with special insignia, the silhouette of the Defiant against a field of stars. Captain Jack Reed gave his life to save us all, Admiral Wilson said. He showed us that sometimes the most valuable things don't look impressive from the outside. The Defiant wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. As the ceremony ended, a fleet of new ships flew overhead. Each one had the same basic design as the Defiant, simple, unassuming from the outside, but carrying the same advanced technology within. The Alliance had learned an important lesson: never judge a ship by its hull.